The story of Tears of the Kingdom is indeed a wild one. Just like Breath of the Wild and every other Zelda game for that matter, it has many mysteries within its chronology. But one of the grandest mysteries when it comes to both Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild is the timeline placement of these games in the greater legend. Well, the mystery may finally be over, as Nintendo has finally announced Tears of the Kingdom Masterworks. Remember Breath of the Wild creating a champion? Well, it was known as Masterworks in Japan. And for the Tears of the Kingdom version is going to contain interviews, developmental notes, art, and of course, tons of lore. And within that lore, Nintendo has confirmed within the description of the book that is set to release in August, that a new history based on the game's events and development will be revealed, stating, "We will also publish a new history of Hyrule based on the settings at the time of production and the content presented in this work." When it comes to how extensive this history will be in relation to the Legend of Zelda Timeline, at the very least, it may recompile and make clear the timeline of events described in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom outside of the greater timeline. When it comes to the establishment of the kingdom under King Rauru, the rise of Ganondorf and the imprisoning war, as well as leading all the way throughout the era of myth, as well as the calamities leading into the events of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But at the same time, it can also finally include the games, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, in the greater timeline due to Nintendo supposedly moving on from the world of the wild. This can finally answer the question that we've had for years and open up so many possibilities when it comes to the future or the past of the Legend of Zelda's chronology. Whether the games actually do take place in one of the timeline splits, it can also incorporate one of several popular theories. At the very least, we know that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom take place in a time so far into the future. Any one of these theories is substantial enough in order to incorporate these games into the legend. First, we have the Dragon Break theory, in which some point in time after the individual ends of each branched path in the Zelda timeline, the adult, child, and downfall, recombine back into a unified path, and that within this new singular timeline, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom eventually take place. Secondly, we have the Legend theory, where it addresses that all of the references that we see within that of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom that take place in multiple different timelines are all described events that eventually fade into the concept of myth and legend. It argues that these stories are so far back into the past that their validity is up to interpretation, and the very concept of a timeline split itself may be a legend on its own, and that these legends help shape Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom as they are now, but bear no more weight onto their stories as it is. Thirdly, we have the Reset Hyrule theory. While it is similar to the Legend theory, it suggests that Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild happen so far, like incredibly far into the future of whatever timeline it was in, to the point that the Kingdom of Hyrule decayed, crumbled, and nearly completely forgotten to time. And that Rauru, descending as a Zonite to this land, re-established the kingdom as a new Kingdom of Hyrule as its first king in this iteration. And that whatever references from past Zelda games are narrowly surviving remnants from this previous kingdom. And then the fourth and final theory, which I've been theorizing for years, is the fourth timeline theory, in which, thanks to the climax of Skyward Sword, a fourth timeline is created from the past where Link defeated Demise in combat. And it is within this timeline that we eventually have the events of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom take place. And that all references to other Zelda games that take place within the past of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are reinterpreted and reshuffled events that were always destined to happen like they would in the original unified timeline with its split. In any case, we may finally have the answers incredibly soon, and the translations when this book comes out are going to be wild. But I want to know what you guys think on what theory or what avenue Nintendo may explore when it comes to the final answer of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild's history and timeline. Leave your comments in the comment section below as well as your theories. Be sure to like, share, and most importantly subscribe to HMK for more Zelda content. Until the next one, this has been your boy HMK, and I will check you guys later.